Is it recording? Oh, it is recording. Okay, there it is. Okay, I was looking for the little recording symbol. This is Dr. Chris's Radio Horror program here at WCW 91.3 FM. If you're not catching this recorded interview, hopefully you'll catch it on the Radio Horror YouTube channel or wherever else that we might be posting it. Tonight on the show, to talk about the return of her comic book series, Naughty Faries Stripper Assassins, we have Wendy Shaner on the show with us. Thank you for coming back on the show with us, Wendy.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
So, we've had you on the show once before, but unfortunately that audio is not easily accessible anymore. But so we're gonna do a little bit of backtracking with a little bit about Naughty Faries Stripper Assassins. But I want to also get into the nitty gritty of like how you come up with the CGI imaging in this book, because your entire comic book is all CGI. And what do you use to create this? To create the imagery in this book with the digital artwork, and like what type of technology and equipment are you using? Because a lot of people, the last time we played the interview, were wondering, oh, what is she using? And I was like, oh, right, good question. I'll ask next time she comes on.
Right, so I'm using a program, it's called DAZ Studio. It's a 3D modeling software. And I also use Photoshop and Topaz Studio. So I use DAZ Studio to kind of set up my main image, and then I go in with Photoshop and Topaz and go in and modify the images further and do more customization.
What's DAZ Studios? I'm not familiar with that one.
DAZ Studio, it's like Poser or Blender. It just allows you to take a base 3D model and manipulate it in a 3D environment and then do 2D imaging.
Do you do it on that computer behind you?
Actually, on my Mac, I've used it. I use it on my PC right now, currently.
Who do you go through to print out your books? Because they're in pristine, amazing, quality and stuff. And whoever you use really makes the colors of your book pop. And you have a lot of coloring in your book that really helps it.
Yeah, thank you. I use two different printers. So I use Artist Express with Anthony Delaney, and I also use Heroes and Villains Designs with Stephen Crawford.
Gotcha. I didn't know they made comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using Comic Impressions.
Yeah, Comic Impressions is great too. I haven't had a chance to use them yet, but I mean, I've heard nothing but good things from them.
Do you create all of the mythology and lore of your book yourself, or do you did you borrow it from different material and real life mythology? I did a little bit of research on some of the Irish lore type stuff, but overall I wanted it to be more unique and creative. So it's more, I would say it's more from me than it is from actual mythology. Where does your love of fairies come from?
I don't know. I've always loved fairies. I've just found them to be just happy and beautiful, and something I've just gravitated to since I was young.
Do you did you do a lot of research into stripper clubs in order to authenticate the lifestyle of a stripper?
Actually, we've gone to strip clubs. I have friends that were strippers. There's actually in book one, there's a couple lines that were used that actually happened to my husband and I when we went with a bunch of friends. So I would say there's a lot of personal experience from going to clubs and having friends that work in the industry.
Is that what made you want to do it as they were stripper assassins?
No, not necessarily. When I came up with the concept for the Naughty Faries Stripper Assassins, what I was looking for was a means to get my story told in a fun and entertaining, sexy way, but deal with some really more taboo, underbelly type topics that are social issues that have been growing and not really dealt with or talked about. So like in one of the books, it deals with, murders and kidnappings. I've talked about human trafficking. I've talked about rape. I've talked about PTSD. I've talked about drug abuse. I've talked about alcoholism. So I touch on a lot of really dark topics, and I wanted a way to talk about those topics and bring awareness without being preachy. And stripper assassins aren't really preachy.
I noticed in the third issue you went into this whole it went from being a in one way a fantasy book to a steampunk style story arc.
Yeah, well, they're time traveling fairies, so they're able to move across time and space, and that was my way of kind of touching on. I mean, I love Doctor Who, and I loved Quantum Leap as a kid, and I wanted a story where I could have my characters kind of flow in and out of different genres and environments and tackle different issues. So that's why I can go from a modern day to a futuristic steampunk city to, the Naughty Faries 5. One of the fairies is in ancient China, and another fairy is in another location that hasn't been released or revealed yet.
And what's the Kickstarter coming up for right now? What issue is that?
That's book 5. So Naughty Faries, Stripper Assassins number 5 comes out April 28th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Kickstarter.
What? How long do you expect it to go for?
I was looking at 3 weeks, but a couple people were like, "Oh,
No. I'm sorry. How long are you expecting the series to run for?
Oh, you know what? It's ongoing. I was going to do it as a six book run, but I have too many stories in the background, so I'm going to just keep it as an ongoing series right now.
How many issues do you think you're putting out a year?
Hopefully 4 is what my goal is, but we've got Siren S, which was released in September with Comic Unity. Ginger Snap was just done in January with the Naughty Faries Comic Con. So in terms of Kickstarters, I'm looking at 4. I want to do 2 Naughty Faries every year. So I want to keep that going two a year.
What were some of the comics you grew up with that really got you into comics and wanting to be a creator? And was Naughty Faries your first one, or did you do something prior to this that I'm not aware of?
You know what? So let me go to your first part of the question. I was able to grow up in a house where my mom was an artist. She painted, she did realism wildlife. And I grew up with this amazing artwork all around. We didn't really do comic books until I got married. When my husband and I met, he was very into comics. And I'd seen comics. I knew who superheroes were, but I had never read a comic.
Really?
And one of my first comics was Deadpool, and that was back in 90s. Well, we got married in 94, so it was probably maybe 95.
So that was probably the Ed McGuinness, Joe Kelly stuff.
I'm sorry?
That was probably the Ed McGuinness, Ed McGuinness, Joe Kelly stuff.
Yeah, I think so. So that's where, and I just fell in love at that point. We got married very young and we had our kids very young, so we couldn't really do anything with comics. He had to put his collecting on hold. It's only been maybe the last 15 years, about 15 years, 16 years that we've actually been able to be kind of involved in the comic world, going to Comic Cons, delving into that. And then I started working on my own series because I had stories I wanted to tell, and I finally found a way that I could tell it the way I wanted to tell my stories. And that's when I did Naughty Faries 1. And that was back, I started writing it in 2017. So there are a couple of 2017 editions out there that were like, they're full comic, but I look at it now as like an ash can because it was really rough. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
I put it together, so.
I have a couple of comics out there that are a bit rough, and like only one of which, I guess technically 2 are actually getting remade. One is being redone with Ken Hunt, who did Vlada. He's going to redraw the whole thing with new pages. And then another that I have never seen, and I totally can just really only find it like in Japan. I wrote a story for, and it got published in Japan, and I cannot find it because I don't remember the name of it in Japanese. I'm going to like completely rewrite the script, and it's going to get redrawn here in America.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
I will have kind of re-control over it because it's never been published here in the States, so I can kind of republish it myself.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've done.
I never signed any. This is yours kind of thing. But I don't even know how that works between here and America and Japan. You know what I mean? Besides, that's like a manga, and this would be an American, and the changes would just be so heavy.
Yeah. I did do a kids book. I just wrote kind of a kids comic about bullying.
Bowling.
Bullying,
sorry.
Yeah, being a bully, like how, and it's really for little ones, like how to deal with being a bully, or what happens when you get bullied, how that makes the person feel.
Okay.
And so that was about 2017, and again, there's not many copies of that out there anywhere, and that's okay.
Who are some of these artists that have worked with you? Like Christina Haggerty?
Yeah, Christina Haggerty. She's actually my tattoo artist and my best friend. So when her and I were talking, she's the one who kind of showed me Dad's studio and said, "Hey, you might want to check this out," because she was using it first, and she had been using it for years and years. And she's like, "You might want to just check this out." And so she was the one who introduced me to the program and got me started with it. But yeah, she's amazing. She does some really beautiful work.
And then we have Tone Rodriguez.
Tone Rodriguez, yeah, he's been around for a long time. He's like my little was my go-to inspiration. He was one of the first people I asked to do a cover for me for Naughty Faries. He has worked on The Simpsons. He's worked on oh my gosh, what is it, Snake, the Big Trouble in Little China, the guy Snake Pansky, I can't remember.
Yeah, Snake Pinsky from Escape from New York.
Yeah, he worked on that. I mean, he's been around for a long time. But yeah, Tone's amazing. Like, he's just such a good person. I really tried to find people that are just really good people to work with and surround myself with. And okay. I was really fortunate that they've said yes, they'll work with me. So I was like, yay, happy.
Where is that list again? Dave Harrigan.
David Harrigan is one of the Lady Death cover artists. He's worked with for years.
That's funny. I work with a Lady Death cover artist too.
Yes, you do.
Yes, Ken Hunt.
Yes.
Lady Death. He's done Lady Death several times, and Hell Witch recently, which is the more. So Lady Death graces a line of PG-13 to rated R content.
Right.
With violence is okay, but they never seem to show Lady Death naked in the comic or whatever. That's regulated to certain naughty covers, but
Right.
like Hell Witch has like oversteps that, but still keeps it somewhat clean. It's a very weird line that Brian Pulido has regarding all of that. Because
He does an incredible job. He is like
yeah, it's very funny because it's just like, well, this is like again tiptoeing on a line that doesn't seem to want to get crossed for some reason.
I don't know. He is the like pinnacle of how you conduct these Kickstarters and run the business. I respect Brian immensely.
Well,
He's
right. Also, and Brian has like had 25 years of industry credibility before his first Kickstarter back in what was it, 2014, 2013, when he first brought Lady Death, the original Lady Death back.
yeah. He's been at this for a long time. Super proud of him. I know he's been through hell and back.
And then there's also Anthony Helmer.
Anthony Helmer, yes, he. One of the things when I started my comic book was I wanted a few bigger name people, and then I wanted people who hadn't quite gotten there yet, and maybe I was their first cover or an opportunity to get their work out. I really am proud of the fact that I've given a lot of artists an opportunity to be on a cover and to, kind of share their work in a new arena. And Anthony Helmer is one of those guys that I've known for a long time at different cons that I have met him at and talked to him and asked him about doing a piece, and he was like, absolutely. So I was really excited to have him on as one of my cover artists for book one.
How did you get involved with Kara Nicole? Because she seems to have been your #1 cosplayer for most of your work. And don't you do another comic book besides the Naughty Faries Stripper Assassins?
Yeah, I did. We did Sireness and Ginger Snap. So I have two.
Okay, what's Ginger Snaps?
Yeah, Ginger Snap's the one I just did. She's a little redheaded fairy who she's got metal blue wings.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah, she's my little motorcycle rider, little hellion. And then Sireness is she was a satyr and a siren, and she goes through some pretty interesting and tough stuff, and she's more of a villain because she reveals herself throughout the series as kind of this it's a bummer because I can't say too much because I don't want to give anything away.
Why do you feel like the industry needs and I did it too, and with Resurrection being redone, I said I'm only going to do one other version of the cover, and that's it. Like, Ken's going to be redoing the cover, but we're going to have maybe a different cover, and that's it. Two, and that's it, because we're not even kickstarting this book because it's only like 6 to 8 pages. You know what I mean? I could easily pay it out of pocket over several months. But Eternals #1 came out with like 30 covers, and what was the other book that came out? Oh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin had 70 frickin' covers.
Right.
Why do you think the industry needs so many different variant covers for one issue?
Okay, so
70, keep in mind.
Now this is my personal take on variant covers, because I offer a lot. And in fact, my first Kickstarter, I had 6 base images, and then I had the black and white, and then I had the virgin, and it was really easy to expand. So I ended up with like 18 by the time I was done for 6 covers initially. I, as a fan of comic books, and I have a love for the art and the artists, I love comic art, and I love the comic book, and I love the interiors. And so when I have an opportunity to show off different covers, I mean, this one I'm doing for book 5, I think I have I want to say I have 27 covers, but
Oh my
that's like,
God.
but that's a naughty and a nice because I've got the variants. So it's really like 15 different artists with a naughty and nice variant. So that overall, I mean, most of the cover artists did 2. A couple people did 1, so it ends up balancing out to about 15 artists. But I could not tell you which one is my favorite, and I don't want to take anything away from anyone. They all did such amazing work, and they're all beautiful, and they showcase my fairies so well. I'm so proud and so honored to have these amazing artists come together into this project. And I just love the covers. I love the artwork. I just love being in this industry. And I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. When I'm putting together my book and I have an opportunity to help another artist, and I have an opportunity to showcase somebody who's new and bring them into my little Naughty Fairy family, you know, I get excited, and I'm honored that they want to be part of my project and they want to be part of this tight group, because, you know, I've been very fortunate to work with some amazing artists and become really dear friends with some amazing people. I don't know. I'm not a completist. So I used to, when I first started collecting comics, like Nia Ruffino was one of my favorites, and I would get everything that she was working on. Or Ryan Kincaid, I would get everything that Ryan was working on. Or David Harrigan, I would try to get everything that he worked on. So I was more of an artist fan, and I would gather my collection that way. So I think when I started doing my comic series, I wanted to provide those opportunities for other people who are similar and had those same kind of feelings, that they had their favorite artists that they would follow. You know, I've been fortunate enough to, I'm working with Steph Wilson and Carrie Ann. I'm working with Lorenzo Sperlonga. I've just brought in new artists this time around. I have Jay Ferguson. I brought in Monty Moore for a cover. I brought in Nancy Vasconcelos, which I've worked with before. So I have a lot of different, and I don't want anybody sad because I didn't mention their name, because I will try to get everybody in there at some point. But I am just been so honored to work with these people. And CB Zane just did a crazy set for me. You know, I'm just so honored to have them involved in this project. So for me, it's about the art. It's not about anything more than that. I know some people, because I don't do these huge upcharges just because it's a Monty Moore cover. I'm going to charge $60 for that cover. I keep my prices about the same, and I try to keep them really reasonable. So my books go like $10 to $15 for the naughty, and then, you know, 20 and 25. And they might go up a little bit after that, but I'd rather put that into foils or metal covers or things like that. But the base, the regular, you know, floppies, I try to keep the prices reasonable for people, because I know they want more than one, because as a Kickstarter fan, I want more than one book. You know, very seldom do I just buy one book from a Kickstarter, because I back projects and I support others in the comic community. I'm not one that just, okay, I'm just gonna take from backers. I put back out too, and I support other creators.
Do you have your book in diamond?
I do not yet. In fact, I was just talking to somebody about that. They
Did
were
you guys
asking
need,
if I
like,
was interested.
someone said, oh, you only need like 500 copies or whatever, and then someone else was like, no, you need like 10,000 copies of your book in order to get into diamond.
Yeah, I don't know yet.
Diamond doesn't do distribution with, you know, John and Jane living in their house.
Right. I haven't pursued that avenue yet.
Right.
And I don't know if I take great pride. Like you said, my books, the colors, the quality is really good. And I don't know if I have to give that up if I go into diamond. I have no clue.
Why
So
would
I've kind of kept it
well,
to myself.
back that up for a second. Why would you think you have to give up the quality of your book and how you do it in order to get into diamond? Diamond seems to publish like, you know, really crappy stuff to really good stuff, and it doesn't seem to matter who it is, you know, what it is that they're not published. They're not a publishing company, distribute. You know what I mean? I've seen like stuff in there. I'm like, that's not even a comic book, but they distribute it, you know, and that doesn't look fantastic whatsoever, but they distribute it.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I mean, in terms of how I do my fulfillment, I take a lot of pride in how I make sure my stuff arrives at people, to people's
Oh, right, yeah. Diamond does not have a good track record with that.
So I don't want my stuff getting damaged in the shipping process, because I put so much into making sure I've got exceptionally high quality books. I mean, the paper, I make sure the paper's right. I make sure that the colors look beautiful and vibrant, and the quality. I mean, like you said, the books they're cut beautifully, and they're put together really well. And then to have them go through and be distributed and get damaged and broken and torn up and trashed, and then, you know, comic shops are stuck with books that they have to put on the shelf that are dinged up. I just don't want that part of my representing my brand and my company and my work. So right now I'm happy with Kickstarter being able to distribute directly to fans and making sure that they're getting the highest quality and the best service that I can provide.
Yeah, I don't understand why some of these retailers have called about picking up Vlada. Ask, are you going through Diamond? Can you go through Diamond? Can I get it through Diamond? And it's just like, are you telling me that you are 100% happy, that you are 100% that happy with Diamond, and you've never had a problem with them that has pissed you off that you're suggesting I go through Diamond? Because I'd love to put you in a room with, like, you know, whatever other people have ever had that problem, because I've never heard a retailer not had a problem with Diamond that hasn't, like, and I don't mean a problem that's like, oh, that happened one time, but that was years ago and it's never happened again. I'm talking like repeat problems that Diamond does not fix because they don't want to.
I really think it's an ease, and people don't want to change. So you've got comic shops that have used Diamond for years and years and years, and that's what they're used to. And to change,
so it's like an abusive relationship that they just keep taking over and over again, thinking it's going to get better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
that's the one way one comic store has compared Diamond to. He's like, this is like anyone in an abusive relationship. You stick around for the abuse, thinking it's going to get better.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't want my stuff going out that way. I'm good. Right now, this is where I'm at. I'm not saying I'm never going to Diamond or another distribution house,
right?
But for right now, this is where I'm at, and I'm thankful that my husband is so sweet about me having taken over the living room, the front room, the dining room, the pool table while I'm doing fulfillment, because I just picked up over 2,000 books this weekend, and we're getting ready for fulfillment. Well, as soon as I'm done here, I'm going downstairs and bagging and boarding and going through and doing inventory and getting my orders ready to go and starting to ship out for the Naughty Fairy comic convention that we did in January.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, the virtual one you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't have that type of issue just yet with the one, you know, thick graphic novel, which again could have been like 3 different books, but we decided to do it like done in one and just get it, you know what I mean? Just nail it this one time. We didn't want to do, let's do another Kickstarter in 2021. I was like, no, I don't want to do Kickstarter to begin with. What else can we do? That's when Ken came up with the idea about Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. But now I'm like looking through emails from the printing company and being like, okay, so that's everyone's, so that's like Wendy and Matt and Tim Vigil and Jennifer's copies and white covers. Okay, what's this email? Okay, so that's Tim's other covers, the white ones, because he wants to draw, you know, terrible, terrible things on my white covers, which is totally fine. Okay, what's this one? All right, so that's the 2 stores that just ordered books. Okay, yeah, that's those emails are good, Rich. Go ahead and print those.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, something's gonna get lost in the shuffle. I can already tell.
So are they doing the fulfillment then for you out of Comic Impressions, or just getting it ready to go and sending it back to you?
No. They're not a distributor. I mean, they technically could be, but I'd have to give them so many different addresses. I mean, I don't care about the ones that are local. I will drive over there, you know what I mean, and drop off the books. That's nothing. But I don't want to give them your address and Matt's address, and you know, it's too much hassle.
Yeah.
Also, it's a little different if, like, Tim Vigil ordered 20 white covers and 5 of his versions of his cover. You know what I mean? So that's like 25 books. I don't need those to come here. But you ordered, like, you know, like whatever it is you ordered, a very small amount. I'd rather them come here. But like as the order starts getting thicker and thicker or whatever, then I'm just shipping right to, you know, to their house.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Right. 25 books I don't need coming to me. You know what I mean? But you have like I think you had like 10 or something, and Matt had like 10, and his are all white. You know, because he can paint on those white covers.
Yeah.
Which will be beautiful to see, because I told him, you know, I'm like, what are you gonna draw? Like, come on, guys, it's my first book with a white cover. I'm like, what are you gonna draw? And he's like, I'm gonna draw a Spider-Man. Are you serious? He's like, no. What am I? That wouldn't make any sense, Chris. Somebody will most likely ask me, can you draw me Spider-Man? And I'll be like, that's not who in this book is. That's not who's in this book, and I'm sure the author probably would not want me to draw Spider-Man. It's got to be characters that are in the book or something equivalent to it.
Oh, that's funny. That's really
yeah, because somebody was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do Vampire Spider-Gwen," and I was like, "That's fine, you know, whatever. It's a white cover. Marvel's not gonna sue you because you drew on a white cover or a character, you know what I mean, something like that. Yeah. That's not what I'm worried about. It would make more sense for it to be like a vampire, a werewolf, you know, one of the characters from Dracula, maybe, or what, you know, the reinterpretations of the characters that I did, plus my new character who's gonna get her own book in 2022. Who's gonna do it? I don't know yet. It's only 2021, and I'm already redoing one book. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That book isn't coming out until 2023. Excuse me. The fact that I'm already redoing one book or whatever, that's Resurrection or whatever, I'm already going back into the Well of Lada, and I said I'm not going to come back to this story for 2 years. And I'm already doing it with this prequel / sequel / whatever the hell it is. And then I gotta come up with the whole like plot line of what the 2023 book is. But in the meantime, I want to get my. In the meantime, escaping from comics, I have a documentary biography that I'm publishing on filmmakers that I need to concentrate on.
Oh, that's very
so. And it's not a comic book. It's not a graphic novel. It is a straight up book. It's a biography of a dozen filmmakers here in Massachusetts. So
that is awesome. That is cool.
So that's gonna be taking up a lot of my time. And then we have the children's Halloween book. And there's also an actual comic book being made about kids who are suffering from depression. So
nice. You know, and I think those that's right up my alley.
And that book with the kids with depression is not going to be Kickstarted either. Yeah. The page rate's so small, I don't need to kickstart it.
That's cool. You know,
and I don't even know how I would even kickstart it either. It's like, what am I going to do? I don't even know how to do this I don't want to come up with like a bunch of different covers for a book that's supposed to have like a message and supposed to help people and it's not supposed to tell people like this is how you deal with it. This is just supposed to be a story for people to talk about and go, oh, hey, I can relate to that character. I have a problem. You know, don't reach out to me. I'm not a psychiatrist, people. Go get help someplace else. It's like Stan Lee didn't write the drug issue with Harry Osborn for people to call Marvel being like, I have drug problems, help me. No, it's so you can read it, relate to Harry Osborn's drug problem, and go get help.
There you go.
Which someone's like, that's why you might not want to call it a suicide awareness comic book, Chris, because I understand one of the characters tries to commit suicide, but you're not a registered medical doctor, so you might want to kind of rethink the approach on this. But a book about kids who have depression and are dealing with it, might be a little bit easier for people who are like, what are you trying to say? You're trying to like give advice and you have no idea what you're talking about. It's like, actually, there's no advice in this book whatsoever. It's just a story. And then at the end of the story, then we have stories of depression and suicide by people. It's not telling you how to deal with it. It's just stories about how what people did when they had depression or when they try to commit suicide. And then there's going to be just a giant thing of like the, maybe that suicide awareness 800 number or something like that.
Right.
So there's no point in the book it tells you how to deal with your problems at all.
Yeah.
It just says go get help, which is anything, and it is not. That's probably the best advice anybody can give you, medical degree or not.
Yeah.
You have a problem, go seek help.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I did with the last one with Ginger Snap. The character suffers from PTSD, and it was interesting because at the end of the book, on the back title page, I put resources where people can reach out, and if they're struggling with PTSD or want to get more information, I put the national the government website for it.
Right, and that's what I plan on doing, and I hope to stick it in like places that have kids that are dealing with that.
Yeah, exactly. And but what was interesting is when I was doing research on PTSD, I mean, most people think military, but obviously there's a lot of places where PTSD.
You get into a car accident, you can have PTSD.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially if the car accident. Well, okay, let's just say this: you get into a car accident that's traumatic enough for you that you're. I'm not saying somebody hits you in the back of your car, you should have PTSD. But I'm thinking like traumatic car accident, like really bad, something really, really terrible. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Something that really probably messed you up physically, and now you're recovered, but traumatically you're forever altered by it.
Absolutely.
So.
But it's interesting how many resources are just like, here's contact your local mental health doctor, or reach out to this clinic. There really was no guidelines of support available online, which I thought was really sad. It was really sad because I wanted, to be able to put like concrete supports in place so that people had something that like, okay, Uncle Bobby has PTSD. How can I help him? And it was just this help website, but it was just a link to another website. And I was disappointed that as much as we talk about PTSD and our veterans and things like that, we're really not providing the support to really make any difference in terms of help. And it was really upsetting not to have something more concrete or strategies even. I mean, it didn't even list any strategies for how to deal with this. It's like, oh, here are the symptoms. Okay, if you're having these symptoms, here's talk to a healthcare professional. But there wasn't anything like, take some deep breaths or, try to refocus, just some basic strategies to help through a crisis. So I guess that's a whole nother topic of research, and maybe I can figure out a way to help in that avenue too. It was just interesting.
Wendy, where can people find you on social media?
Oh, you can find me on Facebook at Fairy Assassins. I also have Naughty Faries Stripper Assassins page, Naughty Faries page on Kickstarter. On Instagram, it's Naughty Faries, and on Twitter, it's Naughty Faries. Plus, I have my Etsy store, which is etsy.com/shop/Naughty Faries. And then, like I said, Kickstarter, we're launching on April 28th. It'll be at least a 21-day campaign. It may go longer, depending on how things go in the next couple of days as I'm planning out the rest of the campaign. And you can go to the pre-link launch page and launch, get a reminder launch there.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, Wendy, thank you for coming on the show to kind of redo what you did before and talk a little bit about your, where the hell is it right here? Naughty Fairy Stripper Assassins.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm so
Absolutely.
happy to have an opportunity to sit and talk with you, and it's always fun, Chris.
Stop recording.